The mail-order sniper no one believed in until he broke the record. In the frozen hell of the Karelian Isthmus during the bitter winter of 1939, the Finnish war effort against the Soviet juggernaut seemed a desperate, losing battle.
The Red Army advanced in overwhelming numbers, their columns stretching for miles across the snow-blanketed forests. But in this white wilderness, a new kind of war was being born. A war of patience, of stealth, and of a single, well-aimed bullet.
And the man who would come to define it was a soft-spoken farmer, a hunter from the lakes of WWII, who had learned to shoot not in military academies, but in the endless woods of his homeland. His name was Simo Häyhä, and in the span of 100 brutal days, he would become a legend.
To understand the magnitude of Simo Häyhä's achievement, one must first grasp the sheer desperation of the situation. On November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union launched a massive invasion of Finland, beginning what would be known as the Winter War. The odds were astronomically against the Finns. The USSR committed over 20 divisions, backed by thousands of tanks and aircraft. Finland, by contrast, could muster only 9 small divisions, with limited artillery, a handful of anti-tank guns, and almost no armor.
It was a conflict of David versus Goliath, fought in some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. Temperatures routinely plunged to minus 40 degrees Celsius. The snowdrifts were deep, the days were short, and the sun, when it appeared, cast long, stark shadows through the dense pine and spruce forests. This was the domain of the Sissi, the Finnish guerrilla fighter, who used the terrain as a weapon.
Into this arena stepped Simo Häyhä, a member of the 6th Company of Infantry Regiment 34, part of the 12th Division, tasked with defending the Kola riverfront. Standing just 5 feet 3 inches tall, the 33-year-old soldier was unassuming.
He was quiet, reserved, and had been a farmer and hunter his entire life. His military training was, by his own account, minimal. His sniper rifle was not a custom-built, precision instrument issued by a high-tech arsenal. It was a standard, Finnish-made Sako M over 2830, a variant of the Mosinand bolt-action rifle. He had no telescopic sight. He used only the rifle's iron sights. To the more classically trained officers, he must have seemed an amateur, a mail-order soldier in a sense, equipped with little more than what he could have brought from home.
They could not have been more wrong. For Simo Häyhä, the forest was his home, and the snow was his cloak.
The Kola front erupted in a maelstrom of fire and steel in early December. The Soviet 56th Rifle Division hurled itself against the thinly held Finnish Nines day after day. The air was constantly filled with the deafening roar of artillery barrages and the staccato rattle of machine guns. For the Finnish defenders, outnumbered and outgunned, every casualty was a devastating blow. They had to make every shot count.
It was here that Simo Häyhä's unique skills began to manifest. While other soldiers fought from entrenched positions, Häyhä operated in the deadly space between the lines, a no-man's land of frozen creeks and wooded knolls. He would leave the warmth of the bunker before dawn, clad in his full white winter camouflage, carrying only his rifle, a day's worth of food, and a pouch of ammunition. His methods were meticulous, born of a hunter's patience. He would pack snow in front of his firing position to conceal the muzzle blast and prevent it from kicking up a telltale puff of snow. He put snow in his mouth to keep his breath from condensing in the frigid air and giving away his position. He calculated windage and bullet drop by instinct, honed over thousands of hours of hunting small game. His target was not a faceless enemy, but a specific man. A junior officer giving orders, a machine gunner setting up his weapon, a radio man calling in coordinates.
By 0900 hours on December 12th, the Soviet advance on his sector had been stalled by precise, deadly fire. Platoon commanders would fall, then their sergeants, sowing confusion and fear. The Soviet soldiers began to dread the open, snow-covered clearings. They gave the unseen marksman a name, Belia Smert, the White Death.
Pause.
As the weeks wore on, the Soviet command grew increasingly frantic. They knew a single sniper was inflicting catastrophic damage on their morale and leadership. They deployed their own counter-snipers, some of them from the elite NKVD regiments equipped with scoped rifles.
They launched mortar barrages on suspected hiding spots. They would send out entire squads as bait, hoping to draw his fire and reveal his position. But the White Death was a ghost.
He would shoot, then relocate before the inevitable retaliatory strike. He never fired from the same spot twice. The tension was a living thing, a wire stretched taut across the frozen front. For the men of the 6th Company, watching from their lines, Haiha's daily forays became a symbol of defiance. Each distant crack of his rifle was a message, "We are still here."
By the end of December, his confirmed tally had risen to over 150 enemy soldiers. By mid-January, it surpassed 200. The news filtered back to the Finnish High Command, where the numbers were at first met with disbelief. How could one man, with an iron-sighted rifle, achieve such a feat? But the reports from the Kola front were unequivocal. The legend of the mail-order sniper was no longer just a legend. It was a documented, terrifying reality for the enemy and a beacon of hope for Finland.
The dawn of March 6, 1940, brought with it a sense of impending climax. The Winter War was in its final bloody days. The Soviet Union, stung by its losses and the humiliation inflicted by a much smaller nation, was committing its vast reserves in one final, overwhelming push to break the Finnish will. The Kola River line, which had held for so long, was buckling under the weight of countless attacks.
For Simo Häyhä, the pressure was immense. He was now the primary target of the entire Soviet sector. Every shadow in the forest could conceal an enemy scout. Every distant glint could be a sniper's scope. The psychological toll of his solitary war was unimaginable. He was not a machine. He was a man, living for weeks on end with the knowledge that thousands of enemy soldiers were hunting him, that a single mistake, a single moment of bad luck would mean his end.
On this day, the Soviet command had had enough. They saturated the area where Häyhä was known to operate with a concentrated artillery and mortar bombardment. The world dissolved into fire, smoke, and shrieking metal. Trees were splintered into matchsticks, and geysers of frozen earth and snow erupted across the landscape. For any man caught in the open, it was a death sentence. Pause. Then, the bombardment ceased. An eerie silence fell over the shattered forest, broken only by the crackle of burning wood. And in that silence, a new threat emerged.
A Soviet counter-sniper, having patiently waited for the barrage to lift, had pinpointed Häyhä's position. As Häyhä raised his head to scan the enemy lines, a single shot rang out. The 7.62 millimeter explosive bullet struck Simo Häyhä with devastating force. It hit him in the left side of his lower jaw, tearing upward through his face. The impact was catastrophic. It shattered his jawbone, ripped away his left cheek, and tore out most of his teeth. He collapsed into the snow, his white camouflage instantly stained crimson. He lay there bleeding profusely,
his body growing numb in the sub-zero cold. His comrades, seeing him fall, believed he was dead. The White Death had finally been silenced. The impossible had happened. The symbol of Finnish resistance on the Kola front had been struck down.
For the men who carried his limp, broken body back to their own lines, it felt like the end. The crisis had reached its peak, and hope seemed to be bleeding out into the snow alongside their fallen hero. But Simo Häyhä was not dead. The same incredible will to survive that had kept him alive for 100 days in a sniper's hell now fought against his own shattered body. His comrades got him to a field aid station where medics fought to stabilize him. He was comatose, his face a ruin, his life hanging by the thinnest of threads.
The journey from the front lines to a proper field hospital was a nightmare in itself. Across shell-cratered roads and through blinding snowstorms.
For over a week, he lay in a coma. The doctors had little hope. The wound was horrific, and infection was a near certainty. Yet, against all medical odds, Simo Häyhä's heart kept beating. His robust constitution, forged by a lifetime of hard labor in the Finnish wilderness, refused to surrender. The turning point was not a moment of battlefield heroics, but a quiet, internal battle, fought in a sterile hospital room far from the front. It was the triumph of the human spirit over the most grievous of physical injuries.
He awoke to a world of pain and darkness. His face was swathed in bandages. His jaw was wired shut. He would require a dozen complex surgeries over the next several years to reconstruct his face. But he was alive. The news of his survival spread through the Finnish army like wildfire. It was a morale boost as significant as any victory in the field. The White Death had cheated death itself. It was only after he regained a semblance of consciousness that the full scope of his actions was tallied. His fellow soldiers and commanders meticulously compiled their records. The number they arrived at was staggering. In the short, ferocious period of just 100 days of combat, during the worst winter in living memory, Simo Häyhä had achieved a confirmed sniper tally of 505 enemy soldiers killed. This did not include an additional roughly 200 kills he made using a Suomi KP-31 submachine gun during close-quarter attacks on the Finnish positions. The mail-order sniper, the man no one believed could be a professional soldier, had broken every sniping record in history. He had become the most lethal sniper the world had ever known. The Winter War ended on March 13, 1940, with the signing of the Moscow Peace Treaty. Finland ceded territory but retained its sovereignty, a monumental achievement against such a powerful aggressor. The nation's survival was paid for with the blood of its soldiers, and among them, Simo Häyhä's sacrifice was legendary. Promoted straight from corporal to second lieutenant by Field Marshal Mannerheim himself, no one ever again questioned his credentials. The quiet farmer was awarded Finland's highest military honors, the Kola Cross and the Medal of Liberty. His story became a source of national pride and a key part of the sisu, the concept of stoic determination and courage that defined the Finnish war effort. His recovery was long and painful. The wound left his face permanently disfigured, but it never broke his spirit. He retired to a quiet life, returning to his first love, farming and hunting. He lived to the age of 96, a humble man who rarely spoke of his war record, always insisting he merely did his duty. When asked how he became such a good shot, he would simply say, "Practice." The legacy of Simo Häyhä, the White Death, endures.
His recorded 505 sniper kills remain one of the most remarkable and unbroken records in the annals of military history. He demonstrated that in modern warfare, the will, skill, and courage of a single individual could, for a time, hold back an army. He was the hunter from the snows who became a national hero, the mail-order sniper who proved that belief is not born in an academy, but in the heart. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to WWII Records as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.